Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Green Arrow FPL podcast from Fantasy Football Hub as we look ahead to double game week 28. It feels like we've been waiting for this double for ages, and it's finally here. And my name is Fergi, and I am here with a very suntanned Rich Clarke. Rich, how are you? And what colour was your arrow in game week 27?
Hi, Fergie. Hi, everyone. I'm very well. I've had a nice week in the sun last week. Enjoyed myself in the Canaries.
Nice until the end.
Well rested.
Nice until the end.
Yeah,
Good.
absolutely.
Good
yeah,
stuff.
good restful time. And had to keep an eye on the football. I would recommend following your lead and taking holidays during international breaks, mate.
Yeah.
I think taking a week off during term time, as it were, is somewhat stressful because you have to keep working, you have to keep on keeping an eye on things. But overall, it wasn't a bad week. I got what you'd call a grey arrow, so I think I was 1 point off a green arrow, so a tiny little rank drop on the week. But generally, I think that was really caused by the fact that I think just about everybody got goalkeeper points.
Yep.
Except me and other Martinez owners. I think pretty much every well-owned keeper in the game, apart from Martinez, hauled points. So I don't know if you had played Areola, but that was a real shock, wasn't it? The penalty save away to Everton. So yeah, didn't get that. But it's a tough game though, isn't it? When most of your players return and you still get a red arrow.
There's just goals everywhere, isn't there? This is the thing. There's goals everywhere. So like everyone. All the popular assets are all scoring or assisting or scoring and assisting every single week. So it's really, it's brilliant for the game. It does, it does mean a lot of variety and a lot of excitement. But yeah, I'm kind of the same as you really, and that like scored loads of points. Well, I say loads of points. I scored 78, but yeah, the smallest of greens for me. But any highlights from your
I think I'm pleased with the Son transfer. I'm happy with that. I think a lot of people moved for Son last week, but pleased to hear. I mean, could have really hauled. I think I caught the Spurs highlights, but he could have had 2 or 3 goals in that game, couldn't he? Another assists and that kind of stuff if Werner had taken his chances and stuff. So I think Sonny's a good solid buy. Went into the Sheffield United game. I didn't watch the game live, but knowing I was going to take a little bit of a hiding. It was such a nailed-on clean sheet for Arsenal, and not having double Arsenal defence, I knew I was going to lose some points. But that could have been so much worse. I was driving home from seeing my daughters and heard it was 6-0, but didn't know who the goal scorers were. I was thinking I was going to get home thinking, Saliba's got them, Saka captainers have got a haul. And then when I got in, I thought actually probably escaped a major.
Was there 6 different scorers? I think it was, wasn't it?
I think there was, yeah.
Cool.
But there was, again, the Sheffield United are very, very targetable at the moment, aren't they? And I'm sure we're going to talk about them a lot when we come on to Bournemouth this evening. But overall, it wasn't too bad a game week. Again, I think if you wildcarded in 27, and some people did, I think probably had a similar disappointment to you, mate. I think people
it's really
who
hard
wildcarding early have been suffering.
There's just such great players, single game week players, who are just doing it every week. Like the Sakas and the Watkins and the Gabriels. They're just doing it every single week, aren't they? Regardless of fixtures, regardless of anything. So. Yeah. Just before we look at my team, welcome to everyone in the chat. MF, can't believe I made it to a live Green Arrow. Fantastic. Welcome. Johnny A is in as well. Just a dad's posting stuff. My homie Matt Stevens asks about the triple captainship. We'll definitely touch on that in a second. FPL copycat Rick Williamson has changed his mind in the last few days and is now free hitting in 29. We'll definitely be talking about that. FPL Jelly, Immortal Technique, Alan's a Red. George Cope says, first time listening live. Welcome, George. Great to have you with us. Joe Van is in. Hussein says, where is Adam? You need to catch up, Hussein, on that one. Sorry. And welcome everyone. Absolutely fantastic to have you with us. I scored 78. I had Neto in goal from my wildcard. So finally something from my wildcard in 24, which kind of came through. But, really disappointed with the Neto injury at half time. That as in the Wolves midfielder. Yeah. That was just a kick in the knackers. And then Senesi to go after 12 minutes with an absolute banker of a clean sheet. Just frustration after frustration, Rich. And that is 7 injuries I've had, right? since I wildcarded in game week 24. 7 injuries I've had in my team.
Yeah, that's a lot, isn't it?
And they're not just injuries like, sort of back next week, I had a quick knock. These are injuries I have to take out of my team. 7. It's unbelievable. So, but yeah, other than that, pretty similar to yours, I think. And yeah, just spoiler alert, I'm thinking of...
This is supposed to come later, this bit, buddy.
Well,
this comes at the end normally.
Well, spoiler alert, to keep people watching, I'm thinking of taking a -12 and taking out Haaland and bench boosting, but we'll touch on that a bit more towards the end, where you can talk me off it. I'm now saying, are we having a spaffing chip section? We're not, because we haven't used any chips, but we will definitely have one next week and the week after.
I can guarantee we'll have one
next week and the week after. I think so. Yeah, we'll touch on it then. So, yeah, the lay of the land then, Rich. After the kind of boring game week 27 is over, this is where, I've been looking at players and fixtures and strategies, and this is where, from this game week onwards till the end of the season, really, this seems to be where it gets really, really interesting.
Yeah, this is where the rubber meets the road, I think, and I love this part of the season, because the game stops being, the term "the game's been on rails," has been used quite a lot in recent weeks, because we're all moving for Wang, then we're all moving for Son, then we're all moving for this player, and everybody's making the same moves, and everybody has double Arsenal defense, and everybody has Foden, and do you know what I mean? It's like the teams are all so similar at the moment that everybody scores the same points, and so nobody gains and nobody loses, and that's what it's been like for a few weeks. So I think we're about to break with that, which is great for the game, whether you're chasing or whether you're even looking to push further up the ranks and you're already doing well, because what we're going to see is divergence of strategies, and what you need to have is a strategy for your team, and that is not what some content creator tells you is the right move. Right now you have to look at your own team and say which strategy suits my team, and pick the one that is right for you, and then just execute upon it. But it does mean that we will be going in different directions. So I will be free hitting at a different time to you, for instance, because our teams are different. And that's what makes sense. So I love this time. But you'll see from Ben's chart here, and Ben was on last week, that the key week we should focus on. We're obviously going to talk about game week 20 and 29 in a lot of detail on this pod. But then if you look ahead to the fixtures on the other side of the blank, and the head to game week 34, there's still a lot of uncertainty over which teams could double in that week. So almost 16 teams could have a double game week in game week 34, depending on the European fixture outcomes, depending on the FA Cup round 6, which takes place between game weeks 29 and 30, and so on and so forth. So at the moment, going off best predictions, the most likely teams to double in game week 34 are Bournemouth, and obviously we're going to talk a lot about Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, Everton, and Sheffield United. They're the ones that are coloured orange on this chart. Now, that doesn't mean some of the other teams, that are less likely to double won't double. But if the FA Cup fixtures go as planned, so Wolves make the semi-finals, City, Liverpool, and Chelsea all make the semi-finals, then it should play out as per Ben's chart. But there are games going on right now as we're talking in Europe. So Brighton are playing Roma, for instance. That game is key in terms of whether Bournemouth get a double game week in game week 34. So keep an eye on those results tonight, because they may give you a clue over who's more likely to double in 34, and so on. But really, it's chip strategy is all about what does your team look like in the weeks, the other side of the blank. Are you the owner of a team, for instance, with, let's say, 6 or more players for game week 29? Yep. If you have 6 or more players in your team right now, pre-transfers for game week 29, I would say it's very tempting to hold on to that free hit, because you can take a hit this week for doublers, and you can take a hit next week for a couple of extra players, and you can go out with 10, and that will be fine in game week 29. You can hold that free hit through to the other side. If you have 4 or less players for 29, I would say the right strategy is probably to free hit in 29 and not try to cover it. Obviously, it's team dependent. If those 4 players are all key assets like Tony, Watkins, Son, Bowen, you've got all those, and that one of your 4 isn't Charlie Taylor or one of your 4 isn't Pedro Porro still injured, then you're obviously in a stronger position to possibly get through it. But generally speaking, I would say if you're 4 or less free hit, if you're 6 or more, roll through. If you're 5, you've probably got the highest dilemma. Yeah, if you're 5, you're probably on the cusp. I've been advising people this week. I'm saying, you've got to look at whether it's worth it, whether it's worth the hits, because you've got to add up the hits you're taking to get through 29. You've got to look at the points that you'll lose by not having extra appearance points for the players you don't have in that free hit. And then you've got to look at what sort of state have you left your team in for game week 30 and beyond, when all the key teams, because you're going to be like losing people like Foden and, other key assets. You're going to people are seriously going to have to sell what Pep Guardiola described as the best player in the Premier League this week, to get Ross Barkley.
Who's the second best player in the Premier League.
Exactly. And it doesn't really make a lot of sense, does it? Just so you can get extra fixtures. So you've got to look at I think if you roll through, you're more likely to play your wild card in game week 30 or 31 if you've still got it, because you'll have stretched your team. It will have the wrong players in it. And if you don't free hit, you'll probably look at wild carding earlier rather than later. If you do free hit, you can push the wild card perhaps to the other side of blank and double game week 34 and wild card to that bench boost in 37. That seems to be the way the content is going this week in terms of suggesting that's the way it will go. So lots of different strategies here. None of them is the right one. You've just got to pick the one that fits your team structure. And we haven't covered the wild card yet, and we've got to cut, because some people's teams are a mess.
Absolutely.
They've got injuries like yours, and therefore there's nothing wrong with wild carding this week either.
This is it as well. I think you covered that off really well there, and answered the question already of like the number of players is really important. I think for those who have got maybe 5 or 6, the ones kind of on that cusp, I think you also need to think about, look at your kind of strength in depth of your team, and also have you got the players you kind of want as well, because there's players like Bowen this week, as an example, as a spanking fixture home to Burnley, as good as it gets, obviously, apart from Sheffield United, and plays next week, and actually has these fixtures after 2. I haven't got Palmer, right, and Palmer has got I think it's 3 home games in the next 4, and they're all against kind of weaker teams as well. So I think it does depend on, if you've got strength in depth and you're going out of 30 in decent shape as well, because there's no point kind of almost dead ending just to get 10 out in 29. Then you look at your team in 30. Are you going to want Salah? You've got a wild card straight away. And if that is your strategy to dead end, absolutely fine. But I kind of, I go on to Fantasy Football Hub, my team, import your team in, and you can click forward weeks, and you can look at your team and how it looks each game week. And as and kind of when you get to game week 30, you can then have a look and think, actually, is that where I want? Bear in mind, Salah is home to Brighton in game week 30 and home to Sheffield United in game week 31. Haaland is home to Arsenal in game week 30. So Salah will very, very likely, assuming he's fit, he's on the bench this evening, be the standout captain. So again, there's no point kind of crunching yourself to get 9 or 10 players out who you don't really want in your team for game week 29. If you've then got if you're going to have to take more hits to get Salah in 30. Yeah. So you are absolutely right, and it is completely and utterly team dependent. And it is brilliant, because we haven't had this for years. A complete and utter 50-50 split on whether to use a free hit in a blank game week. Absolutely superb.
Yeah. I think I saw a poll on Twitter, and 2,000 people had voted in it. It was 49-51 in terms of free hit or not. Yeah. So, absolutely brilliant. And so therefore we're diverging, almost half the games going one way and half. So we're going to create, I think I was talking, chatting with some of the ultras this week, Just basically, we're going to have the two camps now, aren't we? Two badges, roll on the floor laughing at non-free hitters
Exactly.
for a week. Or,
Free hitters in the mud,
yeah,
non-free
you
hitters in the
over
mud.
there.
Exactly.
All gone wrong over there. Exactly.
We've had a couple of comments in the chat. I'm 1974 and James Thompson have wildcarded in 28. So no hits taken, all set for 29 and free hit 34. Again, an absolutely viable strategy. Just looking ahead to 29. And the reason we're looking at 29 now, just quickly before we go on to 28, is because probably whatever you decide over 29 will likely dictate your transfer in 28, right? So looking at the fixtures just quickly, it's not massively exciting, right? Luton and Forest, West Ham and Villa, Fulham, Burnley and Brentford. There's probably only Watkins, maybe Bowen. Son is quite, is popular now, and Tony, I would say, maybe Charlie Taylor. But there's not many other players who are kind of massively popular at the moment. So that kind of between 4 and 6 players, feels about right for most people, at the moment, isn't it? But looking at predicted points as well, just for 29, and the kind of, not so much for who to free hit in, because we'll talk about that next week. But again, just kind of looking at the kind of players you may want to bring in if you are thinking of playing through 29. Son is predicted to score 6.6, so it's likely he's going to be a popular captain next week, I would guess. So if you haven't got Son, he may, and you're not free hitting in 29, you haven't got him, you may want to bring him in this week. Tony second, 5.8, Watkins 5.7 points, Bowen 5.4, and then Madison, Elanga, Bailey, Visser, the kind of rest of them. So just before we look ahead to 28, Rich, and kind of what to do this week now, have you got any kind of final thoughts on 29? Obviously, we'll be looking in detail next week.
Yeah, I think we'll be doing, we'll probably be doing a free hit special next week on which players to pick out. But I would just say, I think if you're free hitting, then do just that. I mean, don't go template, because if you go completely template on a free hit, all you're going to do is get the same players that everyone is hitting in to match you. So you won't gain that much. You want to have a few strings. So players lower down this list just because they play for lesser teams, like Muniz at 4.5 as a striker, he's probably not going to get brought in by people who aren't free hitting. So he stands out as a player that you can punt on a free hit. You haven't got to think of him as an investment for many weeks. You wouldn't buy him for 10 weeks, but you'd buy him for 1 week in a home game, right? I know he's playing Spurs, but Spurs are quite leaky.
Spurs are awful at the back. I expect Muniz to do something, definitely, absolutely.
Exactly. So he's going to get chances. So you play him, and then most of his points will result in rank rise for you. Elanga, I like Elanga again. Same. Playing a leaky Luton defense, you'd probably have him as his 5th midfielder, or possibly your bench player on a free hit. So it's not all about the top guys. Yes, Maddison is a good shout, but I'm not quite sure about Maddison, as even though the predicted points is 5th, I'm not sure he'll make my free hit team. But yeah, the top 4 I think will be in most teams there.
Yeah, and then it's trying to be creative with the rest, and looking at the prices of these players as well. We're going to be able to afford whoever we want, right, in the game, because there's no.
You've got about 30 million change or something.
You definitely won't have to kind of skimp.
You don't have to worry about price rises as you're free hitting. No,
exactly.
No.
Okay.
Absolutely no. So looking forward to it. And it certainly makes for a more relaxed couple of weeks going into the international break if you're using that free hit, because you're going to be sweating on injuries this weekend in particular if you're trying to run through. So. Okay, mate. Yeah.
Let's look ahead then to this week, 28, and there's a couple of dilemmas. Well, I think it's kind of 3, right? So the first, let's have a look at the first one. Lots of people use their triple captainship on Haaland in double game week 25. Those who haven't used it may be tempted on Solanke this week. It does not get better, fixture-wise, than back-to-back home games against 2 of, if not the leakiest defences in the league. If you still had your chip left, Rich, would you be using it this week?
Yes, I would.
Yeah,
I would use it on Solanke this week, purely because the 2 fixtures that he's got, they're both home games. Sheffield United are 20th for expected goals conceded in the league as a team. We saw them get absolutely hammered by Arsenal on Monday, absolutely hammered by, I think, the last 3 teams that have played them away.
Yeah.
They're going away themselves to Bournemouth, who themselves rank best for clean sheets over the next 6 weeks, 2.2 clean sheets over the next 6 weeks. And they rank second for expected goals over the next 6, just behind Arsenal and level with Liverpool.
Wow.
So in terms of investing in both the Bournemouth attack and betting against the Sheffield United defence in particular, that alone to me says, play the triple captainship. But then you've got the Luton fixture as well at home to come in as a reserve. So you've got 2 bites of the cherry there. And Luton rank 16th best for clean sheets over the next 6 game weeks. So if you're buying Luton defenders this week, I wouldn't expect clean sheets out of them. And Luton themselves rank 9th for goals in the next 6 with 7.9 goals. So they're mid-table for goals. But yeah, certainly you've got 2 cracking fixtures there. And if you've still got the TC, and it's about 30% of the game, I think, still have the TC. I think as long as there's no doubts over Solanke coming out of the team news, I'd play the chip.
Yep, cool. Just to say, Liverpool have just scored. McAllister penalty against Sparta Prague, 1-0 away. Okay. As expected, I think, as per the odds. The second dilemma, I think, is around how many players, and again, we know it's dependent on your team and stuff. Like I've got 4. I think 4. I did have 6 because I wildcarded in 24 with this in mind, but 2 have got injured, I think. Senesi and Adebayo for me have got in, so I've got 4 already. I'll probably bring another 1, I think. But for those, most people will either have Solanke or will, 100% be getting them in. I quite like Neto, the keeper, this week. Think Bournemouth defensively could do all right. I think he could have a really, a really good week. Other than that, it's very, I think the rest of the options for both teams actually are quite punty. Personally, what's your thinking on that, Rich? And should people just be going for it and getting 4, 5, even 6 assets from these teams?
Yeah, I mean, I think again it comes back to chip strategy. If you're going to play through 29, so you're one of these managers who wants to hold on to his free hit chip, hold on to a wild card, then buy Luton players. You may or may not already have Alfie Doughty. He's the most attacking of all the defenders across the 2 doubling teams. So Doughty makes a great Doughty makes a great pick to bring in this week. And then probably you're looking at a Luton midfielder, perhaps Ross Barkley is the most popular, and then you're Adam, who we're still in contact with, did say, could we talk about, possibly getting rid of Haaland for Morris, which is another popular move, somewhat bold, but it does provide obviously immediate funds to get Salah in game week 30, because you can, I think, after game week 29, City play Arsenal, which is arguably an avoidable fixture for Haaland, so you can bring Haaland back in 31 on a wild card or something. So it's a move that effectively gets you 3 for 1, and you know about 3 for 1s from the Sky game. So it's you're buying extra 2 fixtures there by making that move, and I can see he's on the slide there behind Erling. So yeah, that's definitely an option. If you're running through, then bring in a couple of Luton assets this week. Take at least the -4 for those. You might have 2 free transfers, but if you haven't, then don't be afraid of the hit this week to bring those 2 Luton assets in, because they give you the extra 29 fixture. However, if you're playing the other strategy, which is your free hitting, then Bournemouth assets make much better investments. And I've written down some notes on why. I mean, basically, if you're free hitting in 29, and basically Bournemouth have the better double, which we've just discussed, home game against Sheffield United and Luton. They have much better fixtures after the blank. So they have, I think it is Everton at home, followed by Palace at home, followed by Luton away, and still and a strong possibility of a double in game week 34. Absolutely. So you get a double for those transfers now.
And 3 home games in 4 in between.
And 3 home games in 4. Yeah, absolutely. So the next 4 are at home for Bournemouth. They rank 1 on the fixture ticker, and will allow you to go deeper into the season Yeah. The other thing that I've noticed is there is a possibility that if they get that fixture and you've got, say, Neto and another
Yeah.
Bournemouth defender sitting on your bench, you're halfway to a bench boost there in game week 34.
Yeah, you are for
And
sure.
Newcastle might get a double, and then you've got Dubravka and you've got Neto, you've got your two keepers in place, you've got cheap access to cheap defenders there on the Newcastle side, so you can easily get to a bench boost early and then take the stress out of having to do it in 37. So there's lots to say about buying Bournemouth players this week, and that's where I'm looking to go shopping. To be honest, you're liable to be able to delay the wild card too later if you buy Bournemouth.
So specifically on Haaland to Morris, obviously just to explain it, as you have, Haaland's away to Liverpool this week, which, as we know, we're going to guess is a tough fixture. He still might score, right? But he's not going to be anyone's captain because of the double, definitely. So even if he scores a goal, and assist, it's not gonna kind of devastate you. He then obviously blanks in 29, then he's home to Arsenal in 30. So for those 3 weeks, you can definitely kind of do without him. Just to add, in game week 31, like I say, even though Haaland is home to Aston Villa, which could be a brilliant fixture, it likely is a brilliant fixture, it's worth saying Arsenal are home to Luton that week, and Liverpool are home to Sheffield United that week. So it could even be you may not want Haaland back. And obviously things may change by then, because by game week, was that 31? Where are we? We're like middle of April, right? Which is another kind of calendar month away almost. So lots of things may have changed. One of them might be injured. Salah might be back injured. Haaland may be injured. Teams may be in, kind of in form, out of form. You don't really know. So, but it's just worth pointing that out, why people are thinking of getting rid of Haaland. Morris obviously has a double this week. He's beaten before, been really well for Luton all season. I think he's got a bit under the radar actually. He's kind of scored a few goals. He has a double game week this week, away to Palace, away to Bournemouth. They've got Forest. I want to say home to Forest in 29, so he plays in 29 as well. So it's essentially kind of a 3-for-1 over Haaland. This is for non-free hitters, obviously. Well, not obviously. Yeah. You can still do it if you are free hitting.
Not exclusively, but obviously you get more bang for your buck if you do it like that.
Well, one of the reasons, so I'm free hitting in 29, but I am very much contemplating this Haaland to Morris move, because in my circumstances, I've used my wild card. Now, I really want Salah in game week 30 because I do think he's going to be, one, a really good option, but two, the kind of highest captain player in both 30 and 31. And obviously doing Haaland to Morris gets me,
loads of money.
Loads of money, and a double fixture, obviously, as well in game week 28 over Haaland's. And it means I can get Salah then, if I want to, in one move in game week 30. So that, again, that's quite specific circumstances, but again, which lends into the game. So Haaland to Morris, Rich, is it something you're contemplating?
It's not something I'm contemplating. I mean, wow. I think we've seen a lot of people selling, and particularly recent wildcarders. You've been clearing out the likes of Saka, Watkins, Foden, etc., and they've immediately destroyed them, and they immediately come out and kill them. I mean, Haaland could still rip it up against Liverpool.
Of course,
I mean, that game on Sunday, I mean, we've just all got to watch it, haven't we? It could be anything. Could be 4-4. Could be. It could be. I can't see it being a cagey 1-0 to someone. I mean, I think they'll go at it. So I think Haaland could easily get a brace in that game. And he's hit 14.5 million now. So even if you picked him up at 14 or 14.1, then you're going to have to find some more money to buy him back later in the season. I just think just remember the mantra: good players, good teams, and hang on to them.
I know that. What's the matter with going for Carlton Morris of Luton, mate, over Erling Haaland? What's your problem?
Because they're not very good, mate. And
but they've got a double game week.
I know, exactly. I know, but they're not very good. And and I don't know, their fixtures aren't good on the other side of the blank either, are they? Not, so you can't rely on your Luton players, which is why that if you're going to go free hit, your Bournemouth camp is the place to go, really. I think.
Oh, mate, you're just killing me. You're just I think I'm doing it. I've got it. I say I've got to do it. I haven't got to do it, but I think I'm doing it as part. I'm going to take a -12 to take the best striker in the world out of my team. Does that sound sensible? Does that sound optimal to you, mate?
What could possibly go wrong with that?
Herb AI won't be recommending that move. I can tell you that. But
no.
We've touched on a couple of players already, but just to name a few others, obviously mentioned Barkley. I mean, he's been playing really well, but he hasn't really been returning for FPL, has he? I think even though he's been playing really well. Neto, the keeper, I think is a fabulous pickup this week, purely for all the reasons you said about them basically having a superb run all the way through to game week 34. Sorry, just to say, Roma have scored against Brighton after 12 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Which does can impact FPL, as you've said.
Yeah.
So
I think that if Roma put Brighton out, I think it's more likely that Bournemouth would double in 37. It's actually you want Brighton to beat Roma.
Okay.
I think that's the way it's working. Yeah, Ben said if Brighton put Roma out, then Brighton's Bournemouth 80% likely to double in 34.
Okay. But yeah, I think Neto, regardless, he's far and away. He's actually predicted to be the second highest point scorer this week in the whole FPL game on Fantasy Football Hub. So I really do think he's a great pick of this week. We've touched on Morris, so I think he could be okay. He could get 2 returns over the 2 games, which is all right. Just because the team he plays for, the fact they're away, I can't see him banging loads of goals, but he could be good. Semenyo, who I mentioned as my punt last week, actually scored, even though
scored last week. Scored a nice goal, didn't he?
Even though Solanke played, which my punt was gambling on him not playing. Just having a look at his minutes, actually, Semenyo. I think recently, he's been playing. I think he's played a lot. So his last 3 games, he's played 79, 90, and 90. So it does feel like he's kind of edging his way into that start 11, getting some real minutes. So I think he's a decent option. I think I want to say 4.5 million. I think. Again, though, a punt. He may not even start, but if he does start in those fixtures, he could be decent. And we've got Doughty on there as well. As you've rightly mentioned, probably. I know we got the assist last week, but how he's been performing is just like incredible.
Yeah, his involvement. If you watch him, his involvement is on everything, every set piece. They're looking for him, on every attack to just take the play forward, and he's still a great buyer. And even after the blank, you can still have him as your bench defender, and he'll come in for you with attacking returns. Just don't rely on him for clean sheets.
Yeah, agree.
So definitely think if you haven't got Doughty, he's the one to go for this week. But one you haven't got on here that I'm probably going to go for, and there's been a lot of talk about this week, is Zabani, who's played every single minute of the season for Bournemouth. So if you're just looking for a nail defender who's going to play both games, Sheffield United at home, Luton at home, just bring in Zabani. I mean, I can't resist it because I'm an Estupinan owner, and Estupinan has just had binary numbers over the last 6 weeks. I think it's 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0 or something is his returns over the last 6. He's been an absolutely disastrous transfer, and he's not playing tonight, is he? I think he's not in the Brighton start. Now, I don't know whether that's good or bad.
Yeah, they're all over the place, mate. You haven't got a clue if he's going to
play. They're all over the place. It's just complete lottery as to what their team looks like every week. So you could put him in against Forest, and he'll just get another 1 pointer.
Exactly.
Come off the bench. So I think it's an opportunity to sell him for a double game weeker that will help me out on the other side. And so I think I'm going to have to bring Zabani. I mean, it would have been Senesi, because I think I recommended Senesi to you the other week, and that's just unlucky. I mean, if you bought in Senesi early, whether it on wildcard or on a free transfer, it's really unlucky that he's done a hamstring. But this has just been happening all season, hasn't it? It just, is FPL.
James Thompson just sold Haaland and Foden for Morris and Bowen. Will be firmly behind the sofa for Liverpool City. Yeah. Dave Barrett, first time catching you live in sunny Lanzarote. Welcome, David. Great to have you with us. I think Bowen is being overlooked at home to Burnley. Agree with that. Also doing Haaland to Morris. Think the sun or the booze has got to me. Probably a bit of both, but it's one of those absolute archetypal FPL moves, which is only an engaged FPL manager would even think. If I was like in the pub talking to my mates, I'm thinking of taking out Haaland for Morris. They'd be like, "What are you doing, you idiot?"
They'd look at you in a funny way, wouldn't
and
they?
Morris is going to like pull his hamstring in the 10th minute. Haaland's going to score a hat trick, and then they're like top of my mini league, and they don't even like look at the game for like 3 weeks at a time.
Yeah.
Typical, absolute typical FPL. Just another player I would add in here. I think Ogbene is a good player. It's just a shame. I think they're all forwards. So Solanke, Semenyo, and Ogbene are all forwards, I believe, which is a shame because as someone put in the chat, I've lost it, sorry, but someone said gutted Semenyo is a forward. Yeah, it just takes up one of those spots. And just I think in relation to you saying about taking out about us taking out Haaland, Summers says Rich, the voice of reason, and Kieran White said finally someone said it, in that taking Haaland out for Morris is a bad idea because Haaland's the best striker in the world and Carlton Morris is shit. He's not. He's obviously not, right? But
well, it's another
in the context of FPL. In the context of FPL, it's just FPL Freddy said it's like selling a penthouse for a 1-bedroom flat. Absolutely. Just Dad Pokenster says I've done the Haaland to Morris. Has to be done if not free hitting. Okay,
I think it's more attractive if not free hitting. It's particularly if you don't mind using your wild card in 30 or 31. If you want to use your wild card later, hang on to Haaland. It's just not worth the transfers.
I haven't got a wild card, and I'm getting rid of Haaland. Yeah. just to touch on predicted points for the next 4 game weeks. Obviously, this does include a double for some players and a blank for some players, but Son is top. It looks like Son, regardless of your strategy, Son is the player to get for the next few game weeks. Playing as the number 9, has a good fixture this week. Has a good fixture in 29. Plays in 29. So Son is the man. Haaland is second, even though he blanks. He's still second overall for the next few game weeks, 4 game weeks. Watkins, Tony, Salah. Now he's back fit. I'm not sure if Salah's still flagged, but if he is, that 22.6 could go up a touch more as well. So Bowen is up there, Solanke is up there, and then Maddison, Morris, Elanga, who we mentioned, Nicholas Jackson, who I think is going to be in all our teams come the end of the season when Chelsea double. I think is I think we're all going to be back on the Nicholas Jackson train with
Nkunku
out likely for the season.
Yeah,
Bailey, Visser, Saka, Barkley, Ogbene is in there as well. Ogbene is a 4.9 million forward. Douglas Luiz, Kaminsky, Ward-Prowse, and Kulusevski. So a lot of very, very popular players up there. Just having a look. Maddison is one who sticks out. We haven't been talking about an awful lot. As you mentioned, Rich, you kind of like him. I think Elanga looks decent, as you said, on free hit next week. I think he might be in my team next week. But yeah, still just very, very good popular players right at the top of the chart, which kind of, again, lends itself to your theory and way of playing. Buy good players, don't buy not good players, which seems to be
that's right.
Seems to be the thing.
Buy a player whose team might normally win the match. Just simple stuff like that.
Muldoon says Carlton Morris's agent and mum will be after Fergie after that. Yeah, but apologies, I shouldn't have said that. I obviously meant it in jest in regard to FPL and in the context of taking Erling Haaland out for him as well. So apologies. Apologies, Carlton. I meant something before. It says this chaos is great. Last season was so. I completely agree. It's brilliant. Do you know what? Even regardless of rank, regardless of mini leagues, regardless of wherever, it's just when you set that team at kind of 10:59 on a Saturday, I'm kind of excited now for what's going to happen. It's not you're not going to just get. Everyone's got the same plays, everyone's going to get the same score. Well, it's like you see a real opportunity, don't you? You see opportunity. So
you look at that FPL game and it says, Saka, it makes 0% difference what he does. He goes and bangs and prays. And, yeah, exactly. And you just think, well, you've got to have a few players where it makes a difference. And we're now going to see some real big swings this week. I mean, I don't even know if in the UK if that Bournemouth Luton game's even on telly, is it? We've had
no idea,
so much thought going into it. Probably won't be even able to watch it next week, will we? So I don't know. When is it on? Wednesday?
I think it's
Tuesday or Wednesday. I can't remember. Is it? Okay.
Liverpool are 2-0 up. Darwin Núñez has just scored against Batra Prague. So it looks like Liverpool are going to comfortably go through. It probably mean they're going to rest quite a lot of players the second leg. They're 2-0 up after 25 minutes. You've got to think if they go 3-4-0 up, they'll probably rest a few players, even though they are playing quite a weak team this evening, actually. Van Dijk's not playing, Salah's not playing, Bradley's not playing. They're on the bench.
It'd be interesting to see if they give Salah some minutes if they're playing.
I guess they would.
Well,
he's been in training this week, haven't he? Let's have a quick look at what a Game Week 28 wildcard team would look like. So there are a few people in the chat who are wildcarding this week. This is what the Hub AI, fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, my team. If you go to AI teams, it will show you the best free hit team for the current game week and the best wildcard team with the horizon of the next 5 game weeks on there. So looking at this one, looking at the keepers, Neto, a pretty obvious one. Kaminsky in goal, assuming that's to cover game week 29 when Neto obviously doesn't play. A lot of players we've already mentioned, Zabani, Doughty and Gabriel as a back three, along with Alex Marino of Aston Villa and Udogie for Spurs. Obviously Udogie plays and Marino play in 29, so this does have game week 29 in mind as well. Looks a bloody good team, actually. In midfield, Barkley, Saka, Son, Bowen, and Maddison. A lot of players we've talked about. It does fancy Maddison, as we said. And up front, unsurprisingly, Solanke, Haaland, and Watkins. So a pretty solid team there. The only thing you can maybe say is that it maybe doesn't have scope potentially to think about getting Salah in 30. But this will have 2 free transfers. So if you played it this week, you could save a transfer next week in 29, which is an absolute luxury, right? Because you will have 11 out, and then you can use your 2 transfers, even take a -4 in 30 to get Salah into your team. So I think it looks
notably. I mean, I think the only tweak I might make to it is, we've talked a lot about Carlton Morris, but I'd probably put Morris in instead of Watkins and just keep the money to buy Watkins next week.
Yeah.
Because Morris, or have the option where you'd probably be tempted to keep Watkins, but you could sell Haaland for Watkins next week, couldn't you? Play Haaland against Liverpool, sell Haaland for Watkins in the blank, and play Morris next week. So you could do that, and that gets you the extra doubler and the extra 29er.
That's a good shout.
As part of the thing. So I don't know why it hasn't done that, but it's probably because it's so terrified of not owning Watkins. I think so. Because he braces every week.
Look at his predicted points. They're just insane. It's nearly 6 every week. Just to say, and you're absolutely right. FPL Copycat said the Hub wildcard algorithm has now changed to include Salah. So I took this about lunchtime today, but he is absolutely right. It has changed, and it's put Salah in for Saka in the wildcard team. So the new midfield reads Salah, Barkley, Son, Bowen, and Maddison, and the new defence reads Zabani, Doughty, Marino, Taylor, and Gusto. So it's downgraded the Arsenal players to bring in Salah for game week 30 because Salah must have been unflagged this afternoon, which would have bumped his numbers up. So
as he's been named,
exactly that. Yeah. Interesting stuff.
A few comments in the chat. People saying no Morris in that team. Thumbs down. Yeah. So I mean, you're thinking of taking a hit to get Morris. I mean, you'd stick Morris in a wild card, wouldn't you?
I'm taking a -12, mate. I think but it's hard. Like Hub AI is so sensible, and this is the problem. It takes away all those biases that we have of but Morris has got a double game week. It just looks at the numbers and the sentiment, and is saying Haaland, no matter who he plays, he's predicted to score 7.3 points away to Liverpool and 7.3 points at home to Arsenal. Hub AI is saying, what are you doing? What are you doing? Haaland's going to score points whoever he plays, and that's the end of it. So interesting stuff. I'm 1974 says AI has read my mind apart from robots staying. So he thinks that Haaland should go for Morris. A look at the best captain this week, probably an easy one. Looking at the vote, 84% of the vote is this week Solanke, home to Sheffield United, home to Luton. According to her predicted points. Don't forget, you can look at these yourself and multiple variants. You can plug your own team in. You can get recommended transfers. You can get live rank, anything you want. fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. You can do any of this stuff for yourself. Solanke top 10.8 points, Neto 8.2, Tavernier 8.2, Morris 8, Semenyo 7.7. We haven't mentioned Tavernier. Just having a look at his minutes. They have been made a touch up and down maybe. So he's predicted to get 78 minutes in each match roughly. But his minute, and this is why his minutes for the last few game weeks have been 89, 45, 69, 90, 68 and 90. So he kind of alternates between playing 90 and not. So he averages roughly 78 minutes. So that's why he's kind of not in the teams. If you think he's going to play 90 twice, Tavernier again could be a decent pick. I prefer Tavernier to Barkley, for example.
I think I'd go Tavernier just because of the fixtures on the other side. It could still be useful as a fifth mid. And he's playable and he is pretty. He's pretty keen. He features attacking returns quite regularly.
He does. He does when he plays. Absolutely.
I think if I had to choose between the two, I'd go Tavernier over Barkley.
Yeah. Smith is in as a defender, 4.4 million. Ireland is still in there, 7.3. So even though we're all taking,
so we're all not playing.
Morris is predicted to score 8 points. In 2 fixtures. Haaland 7.3 in 1 fixture, and then the rest of the players after that. So Solanke captain, Rich, and triple captain if you had it by the sound of it. Let's not.
Yeah, I think you've got it. If you haven't brought him in, and he's only 26%.
Really? Is that all? Wow, it's going to be a lot more.
So there's an awful lot of people going to do a transfer in the next 24 hours here. I think he's Hub's got him rising tonight. I think I did look and see he was going up tonight. I think if you are price sensitive with your transfers, I think it's likely, according to the Hub, that Solanke, Morris, Reguilon and Areola will rise in price tonight. And going down will be Neto, not the goalkeeper Neto, your man, Pedro Neto, yeah. Gomez, Trent and Adebayo. And I think you maybe still own a couple of those, Fergie, so you might have to have a little look at your transfers tonight. So close to rising. Tavernier, who we just mentioned, Neto, the goalkeeper, and my man Zabani. So I might have to make early transfers as well.
If you want to look at price rise and price fall predictions, again, fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, go to price rise predictions, and it is all there for you, completely up to date and real time. Few people have been asking about Saka and him being flagged. I did hear that he was ill at half time, which is why he was brought off. So because he was ill or unwell or wherever it was, apparently he was ill before the match, but he really, really wanted to play. I think I read this. It might have been The Athletic. I may be wrong, but he wanted to play, but came off half time because he was unwell. So for those asking about him being flagged, I'm pretty sure Saka will be fine for the weekend. Great to have Neil Robertson, the snooker player, in the chat as well, asking about Saka. I played Neil in the summer, and for some stupid reason, I had one chance and I kind of fluffed it a bit, and then I think he went onto it like a 80 against me, but enjoyed it anyway, Neil. Good stuff. Let's not waste any more time on the captaincy, which is obviously Solanke. Let's have a look at your team, Rich. Do you want to talk us through your thoughts and your plans for the game week?
I've been pretty set on what I'm going to do for several days. Just I've got an opportunity to get rid of a Stupinan, and then sometimes when you really, I've been thinking, there's never been a right moment to get him out for Saliba, and I think the Saliba ship has sailed now probably till wild card for me, because he's got a blank and then City after the break. So I'm going to sell a Stupinan for Zabani, the most nailed Bournemouth defender. So he's going to come in for me. That will also allow me to bench Ake away to Liverpool. I think Ake probably will start because he didn't play in the Champions League this week. So I think Ake is in City's best 11, but I'll still prefer to sit him on the bench away to Liverpool. So Zabani will come in, and I will also move Martinez on, who's been, supposedly my set and forget keeper. Bought in Martinez because he hadn't lost at home for nearly a year, and then
hasn't kept a clean sheet in 2 years.
He started shipping goals every week. So Martinez is going to, and those two, funnily enough, those two transfers, Martinez to Neto and Estupinan to Zabani, will give me an outside chance of being able to afford to get Salah in one move in game week 30. So I'll just about have, what I need is Son to go up 1 more point and Salah to potentially drop 1 point. I don't know whether Salah will drop, but I'm getting close to being able to afford Salah in one
I
move
can't see
in
him
Game Week
dropping
30
now,
as a
mate.
result of those transfers. No, I know they'll hold him, won't they? So yeah, but anyway, I mean, I'm close to it, and so therefore I like those moves. That gives me 4 doublers: Solanke, Zabani, Neto, and Doughty. I think that's enough, and it also my team looks really good for 30 and 31. No panic,
Absolutely.
so looks good.
Rock solid, mate.
Sell,
On the march.
not selling Palmer, not selling Foden, not selling Saka. No, just hold on to the good players.
You're well on path for it. Will it be your 18th
Well,
consecutive top 50k finish? Is that right?
oh yeah, I mean it's a long way off 50k, but yeah, my personal goal is
I
to
think
keep
you'll
that
be
run
fine,
going.
mate.
Yeah.
I think you'll be fine. 80. He's got 7. If anyone doesn't know who listens or watches this, Rich has had 17 consecutive top 50k finishes. Absolutely ridiculous. Your recommended transfer, Rich Hub AI. You can get your own fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. My team. Foden. It says Foden out for Bowen. This week. Obviously, Bowen has a really good fixture this week. Plays next week again against a leaky Aston Villa, must be said. But yeah, I quite like that transfer. Gotta be honest, even though Foden is a top.
I probably haven't. What I probably haven't done is I probably haven't done my homework, Fergie, and gone on to the hub and filled in my chip strategy, which is a new feature, isn't it? You've got to go into my team and tell it what your chip strategy is, and then that will affect the recommendations. Because if it knew I was free hitting in
it
29,
probably may not recommend
I
Bowen.
doubt it would recommend
Absolutely
that. So
agree.
I'll go and do that, and I'll check that out before I finish my team review.
Awesome, mate. Lovely stuff. My team, Sea of Flags. Neto in goal. Happy with that, I got to say. I've got him already. Doughty, happy with that. Gabriel, superb. 8 Norrie, I've still got. The home to Fulham this week. Wolves are very up and down, aren't they? They look really good, then they look absolute rubbish the next week. So I'm not sure what to do with him, really. And Van Dijk is another one. It's a bit home to Man City. Can't see much there, to be honest. Senesi, gone, dead. And then Saka, Son, Foden, Neto, and Jian. Look at those double Wolves midfield. I was looking to this fixture, thinking home.
It was one of the funniest episodes I think we've ever done 2 weeks ago, when you were bringing in a third Wolves player and you couldn't be talked down from getting Huang, could you? You were so convinced you wanted him for a hit, and then it obviously, I mean, it went wrong for everybody, right? But it really wasn't necessary.
I would say Wolves. Part of the reason I did the hit is because it was De Bruyne down to Huang to enable me to get Watkins back. So that was part of the reason. I don't do hits in isolation just to get in one. Well, it's got to have a bit of meaning behind it. I'm talking myself into something here, mind. I'll show you now. But yeah, I was hoping to bench boost this week with a pretty decent bench. I've got to say, I would have had triple Wolves home to Fulham, which is quite decent. 2 of them are injured. Senesi's injured as well. I've got Kaminsky on my bench, which is annoying. I've got a double game week keeper on the bench, which is really frustrating. Yeah, Jason Styling says, when are you wildcarding out of that team, Fergie? Well, the answer is, Jason.
That was Adam's joke the other week.
as you well know, Jason, I have used my wildcard. But I was thinking this week, and I've just had a look, just with doing it, and I'm not going to do it. It doesn't make sense. But there are a couple of players I need to get to completely revert back to my pre-wildcard 24 wildcard. I really want. I really want Bowen. I know Michael Svedin says, look at that bench. I mean, how unlucky can you actually get than to have that bench? That is absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? Look at that. Look at that. That's my season right there. That's my season. Unbelievable. Anyway, there are 2 players I really want this week and long term. One is Bowen, home to Burnley. And with Paqueta back, West Ham just look a different team. Bowen looks a different player. I really like him. I think they can destroy Burnley this weekend. I'm thoroughly expecting like a 3-1 or a 4-1 or a 4-0 or something like that. So I really want Bowen back. I think he could be quite a nice differential this week. I'm not 100% sure on his ownership, actually.
Did you say you were free hitting next week?
I am, yeah. But I want him this week anyway.
Why would you buy Bowen?
He's on to Burnley. He's on to Burnley this week.
All right, yeah, but you can get him anyway next week, can't you?
Yeah, but I want him this week because I want him after 30. I don't want to have... So So part of my strategy, what I have to think about now, Rich, is game week 30 onwards. This is my problem now. Is I don't want to be booking in transfers. If I don't get Bowen now for a plum home game and I want to hold him after, I've got to bring him in next time. Same as Palmer. I need to bring Palmer back into my team. I wildcarded out 3 weeks ago because he's got a home game this week, but he's also got very good fixtures after. What I don't want to do right now is have to book in a -8 in game week 30, especially when those two players I'm talking about have excellent fixtures this week, good home attacking fixtures. I may as well just do it now.
Right.
So they're the two.
What are you planning? What's your overall 3 moves then?
Well, I was thinking of taking the -12, right, to play the bench boost, but my bench boost would be poor, right? So my bench boost would be Norrie, who, he could do all right, but
no, but you're selling. You've got 3 injured players. Why are you selling a player that's actually healthy?
Because no, I'm not selling Norrie. I'm on about if I was to bench boost now.
Oh, okay, right. Sorry.
If I was to take a -12, right, the 4 players I would be removing are Hwang, Senesi, Neto, and Haaland. They would be the 4 players I'd be removing.
Okay.
If I was to take the -12 to bench boost. The 4 players I would bring in would be Morris, Palmer, Bowen, and Zabani, which means I have a very good team for this week. But my bench boost would be Norrie, Van Dijk against Man City. I mean, I still have. It's not very exciting, is it? This is what I mean. So I'm kind of backing down on that now a touch, just because even though I'll have,
you might end up in mine. You might not even get those 12 points back.
No, exactly, especially off those 2 players. So that's why I'm kind of tempered a bit on it a touch. And when I actually plugged it into my team on Fantasy Football Hub, it wasn't as exciting as I kind of thought it might be. So, however, what I am thinking of doing is -8 now. So Neto, Senesi, and Jian. Or
right?
No, I can't. I can't even do that because I'd be playing a front 8 then. It'll be a -4, right?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to do Haaland to Morris. I think, and then it'll be Jian or Neto to either Palmer or Bowen, maybe. Or I get the 2 mids and play Haaland. But the other side of this, right? This is the important part, Rich. Yeah. Don't look like that. Don't pull a face of like your dog's just turns one out on the kitchen floor. Really hurts my feelings. This is my team. This is my FPL team.
I'm sorry.
Jeez. So my whole thinking is this, right? I need to come out of game week 30 with a semi-decent team and with the funds to get Salah pretty easily. That is my thinking.
Okay.
And if I want to get Salah, I basically have to get rid of Haaland. I can't have both, right? So this.
Yeah, but you might, if without a wild card, you really struggle to get Haaland back.
Well, I'm gonna have to take hits, aren't I, later? But I want Salah. Like I have to have Salah. So I can't. I can't.
Why don't you move Son to Salah in game week 31? Because Son can be captained against Luton in game week 30, and then you can get rid of him because the Spurs fixtures get really tough.
I need Salah in 30 and 31. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but you want Salah for 31 against Sheffield United, but you could probably do without him in game week 30. He's not essential because you can captain Son against Luton in that week. Great fixture. And you can then use another transfer to create the money for Salah. You only need 3.2 million to upgrade Son to Salah, and you can do that move in game week 31 without taking all these hits. You don't need to do it now. It's not essential to have Salah at 30, but if you're not wildcard, you can get him at 31. You'd be all right. Have a look at it. Have a look at the fixture term for Tottenham. You don't need Tottenham after 31. He's got an okay fixture in 31, but then after that, you'd want rid. So why don't you just get rid of Son? Easier leap to Salah from there.
I don't think so, mate. I think I'm going to need them all. I'm not. I've taken out Saka on my wild card. I've taken out Watkins. I've taken out so many top players. Like Son is the top predicted point scorer in the whole game of next few game weeks. I'm not taking him out.
Yeah, next few. Yeah, but then they've got a run that goes something like Arsenal, City, Chelsea, Man United or something after 31.
I think
I'll have a look at the
I
fixture
think
sheet.
what I'm going to do is, as my third striker spot, is get someone like Muniz in at 4.5 at some point, which will enable me to have Haaland, Salah, Saka, and Son, or whatever it is. I want them all, mate. I just want it all, to be honest. I just go light in defence.
It's very entertaining for the chat, isn't it?
I don't know. We'll see. Everyone's talking about Neil Robinson in the chat. Neil, we're gonna have to get you on Green Arrow. We have a lot of snooker fans watch and follow us. So if you do fancy coming on at any time, please, it'd be great to have you on. Okay, so yeah, so I'm somewhere between a -4 and a -12. It's probably going to depend on how I feel on Saturday morning, probably how I sleep, probably if the dog barking woke me up, or if my coffee didn't taste very nice. It'll be one of those. If it tastes nice, it'll be, oh, do you know what? -4 will do. If it tastes horrible, I'll be like, this -12, let's go for it. So whoever makes my coffee,
we're definitely going to see some hits over the next 2 weeks, though, aren't we? All over the place, because they are, on the upside, they are cheap because you're getting extra fixtures, and if you just want to go for it and have some fun and be strong for the double game weeks, you're not that worried about your end rank or whatever.
I'm not really, mate. Do you honestly know what I want to do now every Saturday deadline is I want to look at my team. I want to look at my team and be excited for the game week. And that is all I want. And that is why I'm kind of playing now, is to look at it and go, oh, this point's here, this differential point, wherever else. Not just, oh, I hope so-and-so doesn't score points. Oh, it just kills me. It just absolutely, it is death by 1,000 cuts, mate. And it's not for me.
It sucks the fun out of the room, doesn't it? No,
unbelievably. My AI recommended transfer, probably a very sensible, as usual, Jian to Barkley. Can't do it. I prefer I can't get to.
How much money have you got in the bank? 0.3.
Not a lot. Okay. Not a lot. So we're struggling to do much more. So
you could take a hit. You could take a hit, and I would just sell. What I would do is I would just move Senesi to Zabani, because he's useful the other side. You've got no wild card to use, so therefore that. You can take advantage of that Bournemouth fixture run.
You want me to bring a 4.4 million midfielder with zero attacking threat?
When you've been Fergie, when you've been unlucky with an injury, just get rid of it. Don't leave it to stink your bench up. Just get rid of it. Get Zabani in. He'll pay you back over the next 6 weeks. He'll possibly be useful on a bench boost in 34 for you, because a 34 bench boost would be easier for you to play to, I think, especially if Bournemouth do get a fixture there. And then the other one, the Barkley move would give you 6 doublers, and you'd be as strong as a wildcarder who wildcards this week who's going for it. And that's a -4. And that's just a -4. And keep Haaland. Haaland's going to score against Liverpool.
I know he is. Liverpool's defensively are just not like look at the amount of saves that Kelleher has had. He had to make 9 saves in the final against Chelsea. A couple of goal updates. Darwin Núñez apparently has scored 2 fantastic goals. It's 3-0 to Liverpool. Darwin has scored 2, and
so he might be my transfer in game week 30. So I may well do Watkins to, and I think Villa have got a good fixture in 30, but then they play City, right? I think.
Yes, they do.
So you'll see a lot of people moving off Watkins in game week 31. But you can, if you need a bit of money to just get that extra money to get over the line with Salah, Watkins to Núñez, Son up to Salah, or Foden up to Salah, or some decent mid up to Salah will be very popular moves in game week 30 and 31. And obviously Núñez is now backfiring. So that's what I'm looking at.
The other score update, Brighton are now 2-0 down. Lukaku has scored for Roma, so it's 2-0. So it look Brighton are on the ropes. Brighton are on the ropes there.
Well, there'll be some comment on what that means for double game weeks, I think.
It will.
Percentage-wise.
It will, you're right. Okay, so that is it from us for this week. Thank you so much to everyone who joined in the chat. Those who are going to watch it back and those listening on the podcast version, your support is very, very much appreciated. Rich, thank you so much as usual. Absolutely superb. I doff my cap to you, sir. Where can people get hold of you?
At Rich Clarke FPL on Twitter, or X as they call it now.
My handle is at FFH_Fergi. This podcast and video will be on the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel, with the podcast versions available on all major podcast platforms. If you like what you watched, please press the like button. If you haven't pressed like, press like. Thank you so much. Remember to subscribe to the channel in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. If you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast versions and leave a comment. I will be back next week. Free hit special. We love a special, don't we, mate? Come on, we love it.
No, we do. We love a free hit.
Free hit fever next week, ahead of Blank Gameweek 29. In the meantime, we hope you have a brilliant double Gameweek 28, and may all your arrows be green. Good night, all.